Hey everybody, Pastor Stephen Anderson here from Faithful Word Baptist Church in Tempe, Arizona. First of all, I just want to let everybody know that I'm fully recovered, and I don't think that what I had was coronavirus. I did not have any of the telltale symptoms like fever or shortness of breath or anything like that. I think I just had a brush with some other minor sickness, and I'm doing great today, so thank you to everyone for your prayers. Now, I'm not pretending to know everything about the situation that's going on right now, and I don't think anyone knows everything, and in retrospect we'll probably understand things better. But I just want to debunk some of the silly things that I've seen going around on Facebook and elsewhere lately, just some of the wildest of the conspiracy type stuff that I've seen. And I hope that you'll listen with an open mind just to how silly some of these things are. One thing I've been seeing a lot of is a graphic showing that flu deaths have gone down over the last month, and that therefore, they must just be taking flu deaths and reporting them as coronavirus deaths. Isn't it interesting that as the coronavirus deaths go up, the flu deaths have gone down? So they're obviously just calling the flu deaths coronavirus deaths. Folks, this is absolutely ridiculous, and let me explain to you why. Because number one, the graphic shows the flu deaths for this time of year being like 1,000 or 1,500 lower than what they would be. And there's like 13,000 coronavirus deaths in the U.S. so far. But number two, let's keep in mind that over the last month, everything has been shutting down. So obviously that's why the flu deaths are going down. When you have this massive shutdown, everybody's being careful about washing their hands. They're putting on hand sanitizer. They're wearing masks around, for crying out loud. And you've got the schools, bars, restaurants, most churches shut down. You've got all of these quote-unquote non-essential businesses shut down. Of course, the flu numbers are going to be going down because of all the radical social distancing that's happening. Okay, so that's just a really silly conclusion to come to say, oh, they're just reporting flu deaths as coronavirus deaths. Another thing that's been silly is these videos showing, empty hospitals. Citizen reporters show that the hospital is actually empty. Empty emergency rooms at the epicenter. Folks, that is baloney. Let me explain this to you. First of all, number one, I'm 38 years old. I've been to the emergency room 15 or 20 times for myself and other people. And let me tell you something, I've never been to an empty emergency room in my life. Every time you go to the emergency room, it's a zoo. It's packed with people, and that's without coronavirus going on. What's going on is that these people are not filming the right portion of the hospital. They're going to some other entrance. They're not going to the actual place where the victims are being brought in. And look, I've gone to the hospital not too long ago and walked a whole lap all the way around the hospital, and it's like a ghost town until you get to the actual emergency room and it's packed with people. Okay, not only that, but right now, because of the coronavirus thing, a lot of people that would normally be at the hospital are being sent home. I know people personally who would have normally been kept overnight because of asthma and other problems, but they were told, no, we're sending everybody home. You're just going to have to monitor yourself from home. Here's a pulse oximeter and whatever. They're trying to empty out the other portions of the hospital so that they can be geared up to handle the coronavirus cases that are coming in. And so you expect me to believe that a hospital in New York City is empty, that it's a ghost town? That's ridiculous, because it would never be a ghost town like that, even when there is no coronavirus. And a lot of people are saying, that they want to see footage of all the sick people hooked up to ventilators, and they want to see footage of all the dead bodies and everything. Look, you're not going to see that, and here's why. Because nobody wants to see their loved one lying half naked on their stomach, struggling to breathe, sucking air through a ventilator. Okay, the little bit of footage that they've shown where they did show people hooked up to ventilators in the US and sick and dying and everything was very disturbing footage. And the people are half naked laying there in those hospital gowns, and it's obviously embarrassing to be laying there, and you're sick, and nobody wants to see their loved ones naked rear end on TV while they lay on their stomach sucking air from a ventilator. Okay, not only that, but just stop and think about it. Who's the cameraman that's going to go in and get this footage that you want to see inside the hospital of all the victims? Why would the cameraman want to go in a room where 20, 30 people have coronavirus. Obviously, you know, the doctors and the nurses that are in there, they're already having to suit up with all this protective equipment. And, you know, I was talking to someone else that was talking about procedures here in Phoenix. And they were basically saying that, hey, if you go to the part of the hospital where the coronavirus victims are, you end up having to stay there for your whole shift because they don't want you to take it to another part of the hospital. So it's like they're really strict about not letting people visit, not letting people come in. The staff that works in that section has to stay there all day, etc., because they don't want to spread it. So obviously, you don't just have the media and camera crews just going in and filming everybody dying and filming everybody struggling to breathe on a ventilator. If you're expecting to see that footage, well, that's a pretty weird expectation to have. And not only that, but, you know, there was a big scandal because they showed on the news a few seconds of footage from an Italy hospital. And, you know, they were talking about New York, but then they showed something from Italy. Again, obviously, the reason that they did that is because they had so little footage to show. So they're just looking for B-roll to cut to, and somebody screwed up and showed the wrong B-roll. But it makes sense that they're basically desperate for B-roll because, again, they're not just allowing camera crews to come in and invade everybody's privacy and spread the disease more just to show you a picture of it. That's why what you are seeing is a bunch of interviews from doctors and nurses and everything telling you about it. You know, we live in such a weird society in 2020 that people don't believe anything unless they see it with their own eyes. They have to see a picture or a video or they don't believe it. You know, in Bible times, there was no such thing as a photograph or a video. So things were based on people's testimony and you would get witness accounts and so forth. But nowadays, it seems like that just counts for nothing and that everybody has to see a visual. Well, there are certain things that it's just not practical or ethical to get pictures or video of. Another guy made a big deal about, oh, look, on this video, they show somebody hooking a ventilator to a mannequin, and you can clearly see it's a mannequin. Again, they're demonstrating it on a mannequin because they don't want to show the horror of what's actually happening to human beings because it's embarrassing, it's humiliating, and it's not, it's a violation of people's privacy. But some of the other wild things that I've heard lately, I mean, I don't really even have time to go over all the wild things that I've heard lately, but I heard this lady saying, and she was supposedly an expert, saying that she's not going to wear a mask because if she wears a mask, then she's going to, like, have stuff come out of her mouth, like viruses are going to come out, and then she's going to, like, reinfect herself, you know, because it's going to mirror off the mask or something. Folks, that is just insane. You cannot auto-infect yourself with a virus that you already have, because if you are carrying that virus, then you've already developed antibodies to it. You can't reinfect yourself with the same virus that you were already infected with because you already have the antibodies for that. So that makes absolutely no sense. This same woman was saying that, you know, if you're well, there's no way you can spread this to anyone if you're well. If you're well, you can't spread this to anyone. She said, I know for a fact I can't spread this to anyone. Of course, you know, a couple minutes later, she talks about infecting herself. I mean, that's just crazy. But anyway, of course you can spread this thing if you're well because of the fact that it has an incubation period. So if you've contracted the coronavirus and you don't know it yet, you're going to feel perfectly well and normal, yet you're contagious for possibly up to even like 14 days or beyond. And that's why they're doing these 14-day quarantines, okay? So to say that you can't spread it if you're not symptomatic, that goes against everything that we know about viruses, okay? What else? Oh, and then also just a lot of just strange numbers and just wild data that's being thrown around. You know, only 0.8% of people in Germany have even gotten seriously sick from this thing. Now, look, Germany has had one of the lowest death rates for this thing. You know, I don't know if they just have a great procedure in the hospital over there, or maybe something genetically about the people of Germany that they're not as susceptible to this thing. But you know what? All you need to do is have a junior high level math and a calculator and go over to the, you know, the Worldometer coronavirus stats and do some quick math to find out that out of all the people that have been confirmed cases of coronavirus in Germany, 1.9% of them have already died. And obviously more will continue to die. 200 of them died today alone. So if 1.9% of them have already died, pray tell me, how can you say that only 0.8% of them even got really sick? More than double that are dead already. So that doesn't make any sense. Anyway, I could go on and on about this, but where are we at in this whole, coronavirus ordeal? Look, I said it, several weeks ago that we would get to a point where thousands of people a day would be dying from this thing in the U.S. alone. And you know what? We pretty much just got there today. 1,966 deaths today. Where are we at on this thing? Now, here's the thing. It's possible that the number of new cases is starting to level off. It's too early to say for sure, but over the last several days, it seems to have leveled off at around 30 to 33,000 new cases per day in the U.S. And so it's possible that it's leveling off. And if it does level off, then a couple weeks from now, you'll see the death toll start to level off and slowly go down, because you have to understand that the death numbers are a little bit behind the case numbers because of the fact that it takes people time to die once they get this thing. So, right now, we're at a point where over the next few weeks, you should expect over the next 2 weeks to be having, a few thousand people dying every day. Like there were 1,966 today. It's going to continue like that for the next few weeks and probably even climb higher. And then, we don't know what's going to happen after that. Like I said, it seems like it could be leveling off, or, it might surge again. And part of the reason why it's leveling off is because of the extreme measures that are being taken. Obviously, because of the fact that so many things have been shut down, the schools, the restaurants, the casinos, the bars, lots of stores, lots of businesses, tons of office workers are working from home, even though they've never worked from home before. And you've got people washing their hands like never before. People are wearing the masks. People are doing the social distancing. So obviously those things are working. And so because there's been such a huge effort made to slow this thing down, it seems like it's working and slowing it down. But obviously, if people stop doing those things, if everybody just goes back to business as usual and stops with the social distancing, then, these numbers are, again, just going to begin to go through the roof. So that's why I think that no matter what you think about the quarantine, the shutdown, the stay-at-home orders, the shelter in place, look, no matter what you think about it, it happened. It's happening. Those decisions were made by people other than ourselves. And so you might as well go along with the philosophy of slowing down the spread, because here's the thing. If the economy's already shot anyway from this, we'd hate to have the worst of both worlds, where basically we screw up the economy and then we spread the virus like crazy anyway. So, at least if the economy's shut down, there's nothing that you and I can do about that. That wasn't our decision. That decision's already been made. So at least we should be smart about social distancing, washing our hands. If you go around people in the store and get close to people, wear the mask, whatever, because of the fact that, you don't want to get the worst of both worlds, the bad economy and this thing, wiping out tons of human life. So, hopefully people will continue to do the social distancing over the next several weeks until the end of April or whenever, so that we can actually see this thing flatten out and then eventually begin to curve downward. One of the things that we're doing at our church is we've basically set up a mask making factory at our church. We've partnered up with a local physician, and basically he supplied us with the high-tech material to make the special masks that the physicians need to wear. And so basically we're going to be shipping those to hospitals in New York and hospitals all over the place through this doctor that we're working with. And then we're also manufacturing at our church building the cotton masks and basically donating them to our local hospitals here, because there's a need for the basic cotton masks And then there's also a need for the specialized masks that have to be the super high quality, high tech masks for the doctors themselves. So anyway, we're working on that. We've got a lot of ladies in our church who can sew, and other people who can't sew are cutting and ironing and working on it. So we've got that factory going to try to just help out during this time of crisis. But anyway, if you want to get, if you're a member of our church here in Phoenix and you want to get involved in that, definitely get in touch with us. We can get you plugged in down there at the assembly line that we've got going at the church building. Anyway, God bless you. Have a great day.